Hi friends, welcome to Change Started, to our series Change Trails. So the clothes which we wear are not just something which we dress on our body. It speaks a lot, but there is something amiss, something which we forget to ask, like, I mean, how is it made for? What was the material which was used? And more often than not, the clothes are made with plastics, which is going to stay in the environment forever. And that's where PECKD, company which is spelled as PECKD, is into sustainable fashion. And we have a wonderful founder of that company, Hitesha Deshpande, joining in to discuss more about her company, about her journey, and about her plans. So thanks, Hitesha, for taking out time for us and speaking about your company.
Pleasure, Varun.
So why don't you start your journey before you started PECKD, before whatever was happening in your life?
All right. So I've been a serial entrepreneur, for a lack of a better word. I run 3 companies other than PECT. One is a production house, one is a marketing communication agency, and one is a digital marketing arm. I'm personally an author. I love writing. I've written a couple of fiction books. What led to PECT was something very regular, right? It was just 2 friends sitting, post work, having a conversation, saying, oh, we love animals, and, we should probably someday have a menagerie of some sorts and, retire to the mountains, keep all the animals around us and, stuff. And then both of us also happen to be fashion lovers. So we said, oh, right, the only thing that you get in fashion around which displays your love for animals is those quirky animal t-shirts with, dog prints or cat prints with funny sayings or caricatures or whatever. Or you have the very high-end people working on snake prints and leopard prints and Dalmatian prints. There's just absolutely nothing which, I can wear to work, to the boardroom, or wear to my evening out and say like, okay, I'm carrying my love for animals with me, and this is the casual or semi-casual or just say transition wear me that I can wear my love for animals and go. So that's where we decided, oh, let's do something to bring out a fashion label which helps us carry forward a love for animals in a more subtler, more regular, everyday way. And that's when we got into the world of fashion and realized that it's not as hunky-dory as we thought it to be. We get exposed to the pollution, and we got exposed to the fact that it's in fact, the second most polluting industry currently in the world. And every day what we wear, what we bring to our wardrobes is actually causing a lot of depletion in the ecosystem. And that was the first alarm bell, why we said, do we really want to contribute to this now? Not just in terms of wearing the clothes, but in terms of actually creating a new business which is going to add to all of this. And we almost canned the idea of coming up with a fashion label at that point. We said, no, we don't want to be a part of this, and let's figure out, we started researching recyclable, we started researching sustainable, we started looking into all of that just to make a lifestyle change for ourselves first before we got into creating of a fashion label and stuff. And we realized people are not really conscious of what they're wearing, where things are coming from, and what's happening to the clothes after they have been worn. The discarding of the clothes you wear is another big process, right? Well, a lot of, say abroad especially, you donate all your worn clothes to the Salvation Army and you assume that, they're just going into the hand-me-downs and things are working out fine. But that's only about like 8 to 9% of the clothes that actually end up being reused. The rest of them end up in the landfills, and they are the root cause of the pollution of the groundwater and the soil. And in the process of it, we realized that we wanted to do something that could make a difference in all of that. And our research started as a journey in figuring out whether we could team up with partners who could help us come back to solution by not just being sustainable, but taking it beyond sustainable. Is there something that we could do that, like everywhere in agriculture, in food, there are constant reforms happening where people are bringing new changes to the table where, you're reducing the use of chemicals, use of pesticides, insecticides. Are we doing something like that for clothes? So started off then, where it took us 2 years of research to land up with what we were satisfied with as a compostable material, which doesn't disintegrate. So It's a funny thing, right? When we say we are a compostable label, and when you bury the cloth in moist soil, it'll decompose in 180 days. We got a lot of queries. We got people asking us, "Oh, so does this mean when I'm wearing one of the PECKD garments and I'm walking on the road, it's going to disintegrate?" I'm like, no, that's not what it means. It's not open to just moisture in the air or air pollution or whatever. It's just when you bury it, it needs to interact with the natural elements of the soil to decompose. What I like about what we uncovered in this process is we, because we naturally decompose, our fabrics naturally decompose, we do not add to the toxicity of the soil. So we actually end up protecting the current value of the soil. And then that's just appealed to us in a way. But that was just the beginning of the entire process, right? The next thing that happened was, oh, the buttons, the zippers, the thread, what do we do about all of that? While fabric is the most obvious component, there are these small things which go into making a dress complete. The biggest challenge was the thread, because no matter what we do for this, if the garment doesn't hold on your body, you're not going to wear it. Nobody wants to wear something that they know is going to unfasten, in a couple of wears or whatever. And the thread usually is made of nylon or a stronger fiber to hold the garment together. And we're like, oh, but if you do that, we lose out on the compostable elements. So how do we go about that? Processes, places, and finally it took us 2 years to come up with the first range of PECKD garments. So that's the long story of it, actually. I don't know if you wanted such a long story, but like I said, when I get talking about PECKD, I can talk for hours.
Absolutely. So one follow-up, Hitesha. I mean, why fashion or why garments? I mean, you could have chosen a bag, or you could have chosen something else. I mean, why garments? What was the reason behind?
Very interesting. I think, the way you dress is your first impression that you give out to people. The accessories just are an add-on, that they happen later. They do contribute a big way in making an impression, but the first thing you notice about a person when you see them is the way they look, B, the way they're dressed, right? And we wanted to make a statement. So hence we start with apparels. We're still experimenting on how we can take it into the accessories range, whether or not we can keep accessories fully compostable. There are challenges of structure, there are challenges of functionality. We will overcome it one step at a time, but it started with where you want to make the first statement. There it was. We package you as an eco-conscious person. I like to put it that way.
So you had any prior experience in garments and fashion before you started?
I have studied fashion designing. I studied fashion designing for like a couple of years, and then parked it very comfortably, saying, okay, I'll get back to it if and when I get back to it. So there's always been a connect with the fashion world, but it's only after PECKD that I took it up back. It's like getting back to my roots.
Sure. And when did you start PECKD? I mean, when was that? What year was it?
We started PECKD. We started the research on PECKD in 2018.
Okay. So it's been like 3 years now.
Yeah, 2020 January was when we launched our first range. In fact, I'm very, very proud of our research team who keeps putting in that effort to keep coming up with newer solutions for us, right? So
starting a fashion brand, I'm sure, is not easy. I mean, it is not just about few individuals who are coming up and then throwing their ideas. It is about collective effort from a lot of people. You have to get involved with your vendors, with your partners, the people who would be sewing or manufacturing the clothes. So I'm sure it's a long story. It's a complicated process. How do you go about
it? How do we go about it? I think now it's become a way of life. Okay. But I remember earlier days when, we had this challenge of, we would talk to our fabric partners, right? And we would say, like, we want compostable, and then sit and explain to them what compostable is and explain to them the difference between biodegradable and compostable. So many times we got thrown so many organic fibers at us, saying, ye bhi to chalta hai, market mein to ye bhi chalta hai. And we were like, no, if it doesn't decompose in 180 days, it's not useful to me because it's no longer compostable. And then they would say like, nahi, par industry mein aise nahi hota. And so we got a lot of resistance, and that was the first step of resistance. The second resistance that was unexpected for us was our own team of tailors and masters, right? So we told them no use of elastics, no use of plastics, no zippers, no buttons. And they were like, what do we use then? How are we going to go about it? And so the designers would give them a design, and then we would be sitting on the table across the table brainstorming, and we would say like, "नहीं नहीं, लेकिन इस पे zip नहीं लगेगा," and we would have the masters looking back at us, कि फिर ये कैसे होगा, you know? And we got a lot of things thrown at us saying, industry में ऐसे नहीं होता, ऐसे नहीं चलेगा, ये तो फिर होगा ही नहीं. To which now they've gotten used to our train of thought. They expect something very challenging coming across the table at them, and they're like, ha, kar lenge, you know, we'll figure a way around it, don't worry. So it's been very interesting. I think it's just that we have trained ourselves to not think of alternative solutions, right? While they exist. I mean, I'm sure way beyond before zippers and buttons and all got invented, we were still wearing clothes and we were doing something about it. We've just gotten so used to convenience that we don't want to think of an alternative way to go about it. But I do think I have to thank the fashion industry as well. There's a lot of retro fashion coming back into trend, right? Yeah. There's a lot of bows, ties going around, which make life a little easier for us currently. While that is happening, we're experimenting with things like bamboo zippers, pulp zippers, you know, things that can be used as easy substitutes. And as and when we crack them, of course, we'll introduce them to the ranges. But so far it's been interesting.
Cool. So you are based out of Gurgaon, if I'm not wrong, right?
We are based out of Gurgaon.
So is that something, everything is happening in-house within your team, or you have like help taking?
We have tie-ups with partners, but the main not the fabric, but the main structuring of the garment happens in-house.
Okay.
So we have our own team of designers, we have our own team of tailors, we have our own team of QC who put it out. The rest of it happens outside. We have our vendor partners in terms of the sourcing of the fabric, the sourcing of the buttons, and actually just the sourcing of the thread, because we want it so specialized for us. Our challenge happens is because we are the only people who want something like that currently. So when we have to source it from them, we have to cater to a very high MOQ for, you know, whatever we are doing, which increases the price substantially, right? Because they are also getting into a custom manufacturing for us, because there is no demand for it currently. There is no awareness about it currently. So we get thrown at a lot saying, oh, if you want to make such a big difference in the world, your garments should be affordable and, you know, they should be like lower price and stuff. I'm like, there's a whole lot that goes behind it.
Yeah.
Right? There's nobody who's sitting and making just a meter of cloth for me and saying, yeah, bisme kaam nikal lo. So there are those kind of challenges, but I do feel that it's a very promising thing to happen. And the more people realize that this is the need of the hour, we'll bridge that gap as well.
Absolutely. So that's what I mean. So my next question is, I mean, taking your point, let's take a step back. And if you can explain, I mean, if you can explain to layman people like us, what is sustainable fashion? And when you speak about organic clothing, what do you mean by that? And as a consumer, why should I go and buy that stuff? So if you can just demystify that topic.
Okay. Let me put it in two ways. Sustainable is something that does not cost you a lot of resources and is not like depleting your existing pool of natural resources, right? So the best way you can go sustainable is switch to reuse and recycle. Anything that stays in circulation for a longer period of time does not require something new to be created. So you're not digging into a deeper pool of existing resources to create that thing. Say, for example, I know these are just figures that have been thrown around so often, but I'm just going to put them out again. Like there are about 70 liters of water used to make like one t-shirt. There are sometimes 100 liters of water used to make one t-shirt. And, you know, when we visit these rural areas where water is so scarce, we just feel very ashamed of wearing t-shirts, right? But since we don't have access to that knowledge, we are not aware of what that one t-shirt is costing. We're in this game of, you know, because the t-shirts are very affordable, you know, as low as $100, $150 and all, we don't mind piling on those t-shirts saying, you know, let's wear a new one every day. I had one friend who would, you know, we all were like that upon a time, right? So we wouldn't want to repeat our dresses. We wouldn't want to be seen in the same clothes. I think that mind shift needs to happen. Sustainable simply means that you're thinking about making optimum use of resources, right? Organic, in another level, simply means that you're avoiding use of chemicals. What we are saying is that sustainable and organic was something that was needed probably 20 years ago already.
Yeah.
The fact that we're aware of it a decade later and now we're making it a, you know, lifestyle choice is commendable. Well, we need to step on it. We need to act on it much more. What exists in the market currently has already caused enough damage. How are we going to repair that damage? That becomes the next question then, right? So PECKD came out as a solution to repair that damage. We not only conserve our natural resources, we're trying to give back to nature. So when we say you can bury a PECKD garment into the soil, we genuinely mean it. It takes care of all your discarding problems. If you don't find somewhere where you want to hand it down, you don't want to use it for like the next 30 years, you don't want to wear it again and again, there are easier solutions. Put it in your compost bin. You have compost. That's the idea of it. So we always say that PECKD is a step beyond sustainable. What people confuse usually with PECKD is they think it's just another claim on being sustainable. It gets very difficult to keep explaining that, oh, it's not just biodegradable, it's not just organic, it's beyond. Yeah, we don't use any chemicals, we are chemical free, we are plastic free, we're microfiber free, yes, all that jazz. We're still a little beyond that. One of the reasons that we've stayed away from colors, dyeing, is because we don't want to pollute the waters. While there are very brilliant solutions in dyeing right now, there's a waterless dyeing that we're experimenting with. There are people who've been successful, but whether the waterless dyeing matches with our fabric without running off color, that's another experiment. So everything that we put out actually has to go through months and months of experiment and research. What finally reaches the consumer is a beautiful end product. Unfortunately, you can't see the effort behind it, but at least you're aware that what you're wearing is a commitment to say that you haven't caused any harm to the ecosystem.
Absolutely.
That's where we are.
Yeah, more power to you, Tesha. I mean, and people should go
Thanks,
and more people should go and buy.
I wish more. I think I need more and more people to at least buy into the concept.
Yeah, exactly.
Make those choices, and then everything else I think will eventually anyways just fall into place.
Absolutely. So how do you see this industry evolving? So as of now, what personally I feel there, I mean, the price factor plays a big role, because in the days of huge discounts and fast fashion, generally people pick up clothes which are low cost, right? As you mentioned, 100 rupees t-shirt, I will go and buy it.
Absolutely.
So how do you...
We have been hit by the price quite some, while we are working on, ways in which we can probably help lower costs from our end. What we've consciously tried to do is keep the fashion quotient very high, so that I know that there's a certain mindset which says that I'm willing to spend a higher amount of clothing on occasional wear, right? If I'm going to wear it like, just for parties or just for a boardroom, or it's like weddings, right? If you're going to invest like 20,000, 30,000 in a lehenga, which you're going to wear to somebody's wedding or whatever, you're mentally prepared to make that kind of spend, which is where we decided we'll put only designer pieces out, because it'll, in our audience head, at least justify the price point. Because whether I make a designer piece out of it, or whether I keep it at, a regular t-shirt or a kurti, the cost of manufacturing for us currently is pretty high. Whereas I know if people are hesitating so much to buy designer pieces at a high value, they're definitely going to put their foot down in buying a regular shirt or a regular kurti at the same price point, right? Which is where we keep seeing how we can add value to our products, where we can make people feel comfortable about buying them, because we need more and more people to buy the product for it to become affordable to everyone. Yeah. It's only once more and more people get invested in the idea that the others can join in the journey, right? It's sort of a give and take there right now. Having said that, I feel the price is more of a challenge for us currently in the Indian markets. Which is just not to say that we don't have a response from the Indian markets. We have a couple of very sweet, very loyal customers who keep returning for PECKD garments. But we get a very good acknowledgement and encouragement from the US and Australia.
Okay.
Right? I think their people have already bought into the concept of, wanting to engage with biodegradable, organic, compostable. So for them, this is more exciting. For them, the amount of explanations needed are a little lesser than what we have to carry forward in India. Which is to say, like, the planet's the planet. I don't care if the, audience is from India, from Germany, from USA, as long as more and more people latch onto the idea.
So how can somebody go and latch onto your product?
So far, we're only online. One of the reasons also was in our attempt to keep saying, we are experimenting with eco-friendly solutions. We do not want to get into offline till probably there's an offline model that is eco-friendly. I do not see ourselves existing in malls and, having big glassy showrooms either. But we want to stay online so that we can control the QC, we can control our shipping. Our packaging happens in, again, compostable paper, biodegradable boxes. Our boxes are made of seed paper. So if you plant your boxes, you actually get lavender and basil and oregano. So attempts are to keep maintaining that, but it is difficult. Like the COVID had us blindsided again.
Yeah.
It was a tough time for all businesses since shipping was questionable. So it kind of put us into a tough zone as well. And being a new company which has just started up and stuff, that affected us some, but I think we're back on track. I think it's encouraging when people believe in you and they come back to you saying, oh, but we're looking for newer products from you. And then we're like, oh, yeah, we need to put newer products out there. So like I said, I think we have a very give and take journey right now with the consumers.
Cool. I'm sure it is going to pick it up. So how is the traction coming up? I mean, you are seeing more and more. I mean, is there growth happening with your company?
Most certainly. I think very interestingly, the more people understand the concept, the more willing they are to embrace it. We're product categories. We're still sticking with women's apparel. We have like our shirts, skirts, and dresses. We wanted to launch our men's apparel sometime last year, but we have had to put that on a back foot. So we are hoping this year sees that out, because I don't feel that it's only a woman's responsibility to care for the ecosystem. I think men should join in the journey. The sooner, the better, right? And surprisingly, we have a lot of inquiries from men saying, I did not find anything for me on your website. And I feel very bad going back to them saying like, oh, we'll come back with it.
Yeah. So being a male, I would raise my hand and asking for
Thank you. Yeah. So we wanted to put out our first men's collection last year, but we couldn't. So this year we're going to, we hopefully, fingers crossed, we shall see the men's range out.
And so just coming back to the fabric part, Hitesha, I mean, so how do you source that fabric? How do you ensure that is an organic fabric? What is that fabric?
We have a direct connect with our vendors. We have a couple of vendors. 2 of them are in India. 1 of them is from Cambodia. We've done, so any fabric that comes needs to be sample tested by us first. We've had a lot of back and forth in the kind of material, the raw material that we want to invest into our fabric, right? So right from, I think the ones in India are where we use a lot of vegetable pulps into our fabrics. The ones from Cambodia help us use a lot of flower extracts. Yeah, so the Cambodian vendors, they help us source a lot of plant fabrics, right? So fruit fabrics rather, flowers and fruits. So the idea of the fabrics is to make it into a pulp, roll it out into a fabric. We're trying to avoid the use of machines, because machines by default mean that we will be using chemicals in the fabric. So that's another journey. So every time we give an order, we have to wait for about at least 6 to 7 weeks for us to get the first sample piece rolled out. So there's a lot of pre-planning that goes into everything, right? So we have to be at least 6 months planned for us to roll out one collection with one set of fabric.
Cool.
It's learning, but we're excited about it. We're still very excited about it.
Yeah, that's very interesting, Isha. I mean, so you said about fruits. So you are making fabric out of fruits extracts. So what are those magic fruits which can help you make clothes?
We keep asking them to experiment with absolute any fruit that they want to experiment with. But we've had success with bananas. We've had success with pineapples. We've had success with lotus. Our buttons are made from nut pulps, which is, all the hard nuts. We have walnuts, we have almonds, their pulp is cast into making the buttons. So like I said, the brief is anything that you can eat, and then you can make it into a cloth.
Awesome. Exciting. So this is not silk or cotton, right? So the clothes which you are making are not made out of silk or cotton, which are termed as...
We try to classify it as silks and satins, just so that, since it's an online thing and there's not much of touch and feel involved, so that our audiences get an idea of what it looks like or feels like, we do tend to use the words like silk and satins in our description so that you sort of can visually benchmark the kind of look and feel you get from the fabric.
Cool.
But it's not like the traditional silk. It's not the traditional satin.
Awesome. So what is next? So what are your plans? You mentioned about men's fashion. Probably you might get into. What are other things which you have planned?
So we want to introduce newer fabrics. Which were on hold last year. We will be bringing them back again this year. We were waiting for the shipping, restrictions to ease out, especially on the imports and stuff. We will have a men's collection out. We'll have more ranges in the women's section out. We're trying to also introduce, after much pondering, a very affordable, not really affordable per se, not in the low cost range, but something that is not as exorbitant as something that's more in sync, in tune with the Indian audiences. We're trying to come up with a range. We have latched onto the fabric. We're trying to see how long it holds on, and if the experiments are successful, we'd be seeing one more range of a slightly lower priced segment of fashion wear as well. So yeah, and we'll keep experimenting with more collections. Our idea in the collections is also each collection is inspired by an animal, right? So wherever we seek inspiration, we find inspiration. We have more designs out.
Cool. So your products are they tasty as well?
I haven't tried eating them. Okay, I'll be honest. I wouldn't recommend somebody tries it either. I know, animals haven't gotten tempted when they sniff it to say like, oh, isko kha ke dekhte hain. No, nothing of this sorts happened. Okay, that's one experiment I haven't carried out. Okay. Please do not put ideas into my head or consumers' heads. The next time I get feedback, it'll probably be, oh, I bought this garment, but it didn't taste so well,
Sorry for that bad joke. So are you looking for funding, something which you want to do in the future?
Sure. We're always open to opportunities for people who want to partner with us. I'm not very keen on somebody making it a money game right now. While yes, everybody's into business for the commerce of it, we want somebody who's invested in the idea itself.
Yeah.
Right. So as long as you don't feel as passionately about PECKD as we do, there'll always come a point where we'll have to make a decision about economy versus principles. Right. And I do not want to get into that so early into the game. So we've had a couple of conversations with investors who love the idea, who love the concept of it, love the fact that we have a first mover advantage on the entire game. But the question always boils down to whether we see the same passion reflect in them as they see in us. So it's not a closed game. I would love for people to invest in PECKD along with the same thought, same idea, and same passion for it. We can give them the sales, we can give them the figures, because I know it's a concept that more and more people are latching onto, right? So there has been, even despite the lockdowns and whatever, we've always been on a steady curve of growth. So
yeah. So you have a very interesting name as well. Can you elaborate more on that? Brand name, yeah.
Right. So what I started was, in the beginning of the conversation, PECKD is more about it's the root word is peck, right? Peck is a little kiss. So we said that this was a little kiss of gratitude back to the nature, that we wanted to give back for all the destruction that this industry has caused so far. Hence PECKD.
Nice, very nice. So you tell us about your books. So you said you have written few books. Is there something on?
Actually, completely unrelated. That's, I think, stress busting. When you get too stressed at work, you just want to go back and do something which is entirely disconnected from everything else. Also helps to overcome some very, very interesting creative blocks. I write fiction. I write some fiction. I dabble in fiction. So I have a couple of published books to my name. But they're all fiction works.
Cool, but you are creating a lot of impact in the real world. Probably your writing was done in fiction, but what you're doing is doing a lot of real impact to the real world.
I hope we reach out to more and more people, and we can continue making that difference. In fact, my partner Himanshu, who's partnered with me, he's very young. He's 26, I think, right now, 26 or 27.
Mm.
What encourages me about him all the time is that he has the drive. He has the drive to want to make a big difference. And I feel that if he can influence more and more people, within his circle, that's absolutely the next generation who's going to carry this forward any which way, right? And to have understood and latched on to the concept of giving back at that young an age, I wish I had done that when I was where he is right now. Maybe he would have brought in a difference much earlier and it wouldn't have taken so long.
Exactly. And I mean, though he's 26, but I mean, as seniors, we have a responsibility for the next generation, people who are in teens and less than that, and for the future generation. So we have a big responsibility to make their life.
I think it's a little different, Varun. I think these days I get inspired by the ideas that the next generation is bringing in, right? It's just that they seem to have a harder grasp on, what the problem is, and very eager to seek a solution to it. Impatient, yes, as well. So I guess that's where, we can take the slighter advantage of saying, oh, let the experience reign in. but I do think I'm very inspired by, I see so many young fashionistas around as well who keep talking about sustainable solutions. Let's do recycled, and they will go in depth into researching about recycled. And the letters and the mails that come to us are so often from, young college students who are like, oh, we heard about PECKD and these are the questions we have. I like the fact that they are so curious about it.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I do think that if at a certain point they reach a stage in their life where they can make this as a lifestyle, we've achieved what we've set out to achieve.
Cool. So my final question is, what is your Hitesha's personal connect with environment and nature?
What everybody else's is. I just want to have a fairer, cleaner, more consistent ecosystem. I don't want to wake up one fine day. Like we say in Gurgaon, we're already dealing with very real problems of air pollution, right, in this part of the world. And ever since the COVID, masks has become such a way of life that we are anyways working with our masks 24/7. We don't even think about our life without masks and stuff. I don't want that to become a way of life, because human beings are so adaptable. We'll adapt to extreme situations very easily without ever realizing that there was something better earlier.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah, and you are sitting with the nature and the sun is setting behind you, but I'm sure probably that is about the traditional fashion which is setting down and the new fashion which is growing up.
I love how you interpret it. I wish that's really because I do think that's the way forward, right? And I think more and more people connecting with us will make it affordable to everybody. Soon I hope that we soon reach a stage where we're not even considering that there was ever an option of fashion otherwise.
Absolutely. So more power to you, and happy Women's Day as well, Hitesha.
Oh, thanks, Varun. That had completely slipped my mind. Thank you so much.
It was a great talking to you, knowing about the kind of work which you are doing. So it's absolutely great.
Thanks, Varun. It was lovely talking to you, and thanks for reaching out as well. And I hope you help me connect to more people who can buy into the concept of keeping fashion compostable now.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Hitesha. Thanks.
Lovely, Varun. Take care.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Keep in touch. Bye-bye. Yeah.